If I'm lowering some positions, let's say if I need no longer 5 front-end developers or back-end, I can spend that somewhere else, especially if I'm in an early stage, right? Doesn't mean that I'm not going to be hiring people. In my case, for example, the less I spend with the developer, the more I spend with marketing, with growth.
Welcome, everyone, to the Tech Business Roundtable podcast show. This is a podcast show dedicated to shining a spotlight on tech innovators, entrepreneurs, founders, and the compelling narratives behind the movements they've established. I'm your host, Ryan Davies, and today I'm hosting our discussion with Anderson Amaral. Anderson, thank you so much for joining.
You're welcome. I'm excited to be here again.
I am super excited to get to talking about our topic. Our discussion today is around AI and the job market, AI startups, job displacements, and the future of work. This is a huge topic when we're talking about, tech, business, and AI. And Anderson, I know you've had a career. You've held a lot of leadership roles as the head of data and credit engine at major fintech companies like StoneCo and PicPay. You ventured into entrepreneurship. You're now the co-founder of a stealth mode AI startup and lead a diverse and expert team in creating innovative, scalable AI products for various domains. 26 years of coding experience, 15 years of building and managing data teams, really helping that digital transformation for companies to embrace data-driven environments. Top-rated plus freelancer on Upwork. You're in data science, data mining, analysis, credit modeling, fraud prevention, chatbots, you name it. This is the guy that we want to talk to about this. Anderson, thanks so much for being here. Anything I missed in the bio and background that you want to add for our listeners to kind of color up a little bit more about, your expertise and really what you've experienced with this AI in the job market so far?
Ryan, you mentioned half of my life, right? Actually, I'm also a full-time daddy and also a brown belt, jiu-jitsu brown belt. So,
nice.
As a brown belt, I spend a lot of time training as well. So I train jiu-jitsu every single day. I think it makes me ready to, to face the AI world up for the rest of the day.
Good for you, man. We talked about that before we started talking here about both being dads and, the time commitment from work to being a dad and finding that personal time. So that is a huge thing to kind of put yourself into. And again, give you a little bit of break from AI and everything that's happening. But we really want to talk today heavily about, again, AI in the job market. So there's AI startups that are impacting the job market. People are worried about what the future of work looks like. But where I want to start is really around those job displacements, right? And you shared couple amazing stats with me. One from Gartner, 50 million new jobs are expected from AI globally by the end of the decade here. But the one that really drove into me there that I love is 62% of people are feeling AI is going to create more jobs overall. Well, 47% of people think AI is coming for their job. It's a threat to their job security, right? So we've got quite a two sides of the coin on that one where, hey, there's new jobs coming, but also at the same time, my job might not exist anymore. So give me what your thoughts are on honest when you see stats like that with your experience.
Yeah, I would say yours. It could be probably one that can, clone your voice, or for the good, for the bad, you being a success here, we can make sure we have enough data to clone your voice. Give the same with me, right? And we could just let them see how creative they can get, right? It's crazy to think about that, but it's a fact, it's something that really that's going to happen. So, and to add on top of that news, I have another one from the World Economic Forum. It's pretty much the same. 54% of business leaders believe AI will create more jobs than it destroys. 54%. But at the same time, 42% of business leaders are concerned about the ethical implications of AI, right? Especially, I understand here from ethical implications is, who is going to consume things? Who is going to, if people are losing jobs and are creating, who are going to be the one actually taking over that, How are we going to, ethical implications when losing job is something to be considered. And at the same time, 47% of people are actually afraid of the AI,
Yeah.
afraid of losing their jobs. So that's something to take into account, So what I feel is most of people don't know what's going to happen. We're just afraid of things that maybe losing our job, that means creating new ones. In our case, for example, here, as AI programmer, as AI coder, I can tell you that most of the things that I do, an agent can do as well. So even ourselves working technology, we can make that, how can I say, more productive,
Yeah.
And as an entrepreneur, you don't need a front-end developer, for example. Like if you need 5 of them before, now you can just, that's why I was losing, my mind for a while here. But man, there's something that Microsoft created, and it's open source. So even though it was created by Microsoft, anyone can use it. And also other examples from university, Chinese companies, and etc. It's open for everyone to use, which is called auto agents. I'm just giving you one example in certain industry. So inside the tech industry itself, we already can automate things. Is it creating new jobs? It's going to be creating a job. I don't know if I am that optimistic, to be honest with you. We just have to think that the pace of AI evolution is definitely faster than our, possibility of making ourselves ready to learn new skills. So, we cannot think that all those 50 million jobs that are going to be created up to the end of the decade, according to McKinsey, we're going to have enough people for them. We cannot expect that someone working, I don't know, right? All jobs are important, but someone working at a petrol station not necessarily needs to study as much as someone who is studying with who's working with AI. So we should not expect all those people are going to be ready to occupy those job positions. So I don't think I'm that optimistic as some leaders, but at the same time, as an entrepreneur, of course, I'm happy because now I can create things faster with less budget. Consequently, I don't rely that much investors like I used to do in the past, for example.
Right. And I think that's an important, it's an important thing to consider. You were just touching on it. There's two things that people need to consider in this space, and that's what's the impact on headcount and what's the impact on job roles, right? And I think a lot of AI's job is to assist us, upskill us, take away those menial, draining tasks sometimes, or repetitive tasks, or research-driven tasks, which AI is so strong at now, and be able to change people and adapt to, what the new roles would look like. I mean, we came from an age of print, which turned into radio, which turned into TV, which turned into internet, which turned into AI now, which is kind of the upscaling of it. And each time people went, well, this is it. This is everything's changing, but it more created a different role and a different skill set for people. So, you mentioned coming into this, you've done startups, you've had it where you've upped your head count. You've been able to reduce your head count because of it, which has allowed you to scale faster and in turn up your head count again, right? So give us a little bit about that journey and what your thoughts are of, these changing job roles that you're seeing and being able to fill those.
No, excellent point that you mentioned. Exactly. If I'm lowering some positions, let's say if I need no longer 5 front-end developers or backend, I can spend that somewhere else, especially if I'm in an early stage, right? Doesn't mean that I'm not going to be hiring people. In my case, for example, the less I spend with the developer, the more I spend with marketing, with growth. So, and which is not my core area, for example. So consequently, other companies that also might be automating their marketing product and so on might also benefit the fact that I'm putting my company's money into their company, And so we see that the money goes around. I understand that. And new job positions are going to be more specific in the AI niche. Some things, of course, are very hard to automate. Some people, they want eye-to-eye conversation. They won't close a deal with you without that. Some services and products are like that. So let's just think about, in general, you're not going to have from one day to another a hairdresser as a robot. You're not going to have that.
Right.
So some things are going to be really difficult to automate. Someone who can really cook nice food for top restaurants, that's not something to be possible to be automated. So
Right.
a lot of main job positions that maybe we are not paying attention in the last decades, because all of us in the tech industry is being paid well, just like financial markets as well. Now they're gonna be in evidence. We're gonna see it again. For example, I have a yoga instructor. She's amazing, and I'm 40 years old now, so I'm seeing what my body can do, and etc. I cannot manage it. And she's someone very busy. She has different entrepreneurs as a client as well. So 6 a.m. in the morning, I'm there, learning my yoga, practicing yoga, and so on. That's not a job that can be automated. So when I see the new jobs being created in AI, I know that they might not last long either. For example, I think just 12 months ago, everyone was talking about prompt engineer. That would be a job, that ability of asking exactly the AI what you want. This is not a job anymore. You have to be good no matter your background. You have to be good in explaining what you want, and that's a skill for life. It's not only between you and AI. If you don't know what you want, probably you're not gonna have the level of success at your workplace, at your life, in relationships. So that's something expected. People are realizing that prompt engineering is just a way of talking to AI. So it was everyone talking in some magazines as well. I'm not gonna mention name, but everyone saying, "Oh, prompt engineering is pay up to $200,000 a year." And now it's no longer true. So it's hard to predict which jobs are going to be created and the ones are going to be destroyed. I gave some examples here. Agents can be created for some skills. So yes, I think office clerks, for example, if you're a small business, you don't need someone there sitting 9 to 5, just answering phone calls and booking meetings for you. You no longer need that. You can easily have one that for you, take a look at your calendar and booking the meetings according to your availability. And same time, replying phone calls, giving budget to clients, saying the services that you offer. That's something it's easy to create now. On the other hand, programmers, I was going to say VCs, yeah, and even VCs, you can have a VC assistant, I don't remember now the name, but there is I think 2 Italian entrepreneurs. They create something now. I use their product, by the way, for one of my business, where you just give your name, your industry, and they make a research that would take weeks that a VC you would pay for, and now you have that ready. Your market share, your probability of success, your competitors, and so on. Yeah, so even VCs themselves can be replaced by AI. I think the best ones are going to have their, let's say, their position somewhere, So you're just going to have other people moving to other positions, to other business as an entrepreneur. I'm in this sense, I'm optimistic in saying that there's always something good for someone else who is also good at something different. So I believe everyone has a talent that they don't know yet. I'm 100% sure that if I wasn't working technology, I'll be a jiu-jitsu athlete. I'd be competing or be on MMA. I love boxing and those things. I was really good. And I just too old now for that. But yes, in the past, if I hadn't had success with as an entrepreneur in AI, technical person, I'll be definitely working with sports.
Yeah, I mean it's like you just said, there's always a way that you can pivot, that you can learn something new, maybe somebody didn't know about it. I know on Indeed's top best jobs year over year list, there's been AI engineer, machine learning engineer, data scientist over and over and over, knowing that this is kind of where it's going. But you also touched on the fact there of AI startups are really impacting the job market as well, right? So I kind of want to touch on that. I know that's something you're doing. You're right in on it and things to that effect. But how are you finding? There are a lot of them that are coming up. I think it's probably one of the biggest areas that you see a lot of startups in. What's your experience in the AI kind of startup space and what the impact of that is on the job market as well?
Excellent. Yes, I was just talking to a client from Australia. As besides my stealth mode startups, I also own a software house, right? And most of my revenue comes from this software house. So I have some clients in Australia, and basically she asked agile serves. She has a platform. Can I mention brands here, or should
Oh,
I?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so everyone know I can mention several of them, but no one's gonna see I'm in favor of them. But I like Jira, Atlassian software, right? But she asked to automate her Monday.com.
Right.
And why? Because she found, oh, I'm too confused how to use that. I just want to be certain that the people I'm hiring, how they are performing, and so on. And we did it. In few hours, we create an agent that can add the things that she asked for, and with her voice. So it understands her commands by her voice, right? And go there and add something. And she's working there in the real estate industry. And like, let's say, oh, I'd like to create a new project, and this new project are going to be, I don't know, 100 new apartments with certain area and etc. And that's going to start in next month. So we should be selling at least 10% of them by the end of the year. And the AI bot, by make a transcription of her voice, can add those things to Monday.com. So it's crazy to know how much money she's going to save. And she's in the early stage, she works for another company. And then she asked us to create that, and I was telling her, listen, I know it's not so cheap at the very beginning, but look how much we spend with hiring people to do that, right?
Yeah.
And that's just an example. And a lot of people are creating new business based on that. If they know there's a tool, or like I mentioned last time we had a chat, there's an AI for that.
Yes,
there's an
exactly.
AI for that.
Yeah.
You know that you can focus on your core business and then create something new. So I truly believe that a lot of new billionaires, new unicorns, not necessarily unicorns, you can have a very successful company, not necessarily worth $1 billion, are going to be created next year. So concerning that matter, I'm certainly very optimistic.
I want to touch on that too. So in the world of, I think I was going to say for startups, right? For people that are starting up, but I don't think that's necessarily true. It's for any stage you are, because we have listeners at all stages of the journey that are looking to, like you just said, how do I automate a process? How can I cost save in one area so I can spend that budget in another area? Maybe again, it's hiring that person that's on maybe the non-AI side of things around HR or around different art, type of things that you need to be able to build, even though that all exists now too, but how do you find those tools? What's your recommendation? So when people are, people are coming to you, and I don't want you to spill your secret sauce here, obviously, but from that side of things, saying, I'm trying to scale any stage of where your business journey is, how they can take advantage of AI to, again, create more jobs around other areas of their business and have AI take some of those other tasks off, some of the ideas.
Excellent question, actually. A lot of things that we might find hard, we have to think, is there any possibility of automating that? For example, in my case, even though I'm a technical person, I used to find very difficult the DevOps area, or as people are saying, DevSecOps, which is a position, usually very expensive guys working with cyber security and so on. Mm-hmm. So I decided to use my spare time between my job and my daughter, asking her to
all the spare time you have.
And I'm learning in a very advanced level DevSecOps, so cybersecurity, with the help of AI, right? So it's a matter of, is that every time you have an idea, you have to think, is that possible? How hard is to do that? And ask, GPT-4, Bard, Mistral, model now. There are a lot of new models doing pretty well day by day. and very specific models now, right? Not necessarily need a general model, entropy, and so on. And then just think about something that you would do that's really hard to execute a few years ago, right? I'm gonna provocate you a little bit. What about creating a podcast? Is that hard? I used to think about that in the past. You know, I had many. I never attempted actually. I was thinking, how hard is create a podcast? So great people want to invite me, and I took part in some podcast episodes and so on. But I was thinking, wow, that's too hard. You have to record that, and then you have to work on that. You have to remove the noise from the background and record, and then find sponsors, and that takes a lot of time, and that takes the bright side of having a nice chat. And I'm pretty sure nowadays, if you are using some tools, it might be getting easier, right? I still don't have courage to create one. I think there's a lot of job involved, but definitely that's something that maybe someone now listening to us might think, well, I should start a podcast as well.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it's all about. I think that's one of the biggest things about AI that I love is it's so community based, and everybody wants to share what they've got to help other people succeed and grow it further, right? Because everybody, traditionally in business, it's, again, I hold things close to my chest and I don't want to give up any information or whatever. Whereas this is, like you said, there's an AI for that, is a look, if you have a problem, there's likely a solution here. If you have a problem and there isn't a solution here, well, now you've maybe got a business model already started, an ideation where you can take it, right, and build off of that. So I absolutely, I think that's one of the great things, and I'd love to have another, maybe I'll get to be a guest somewhere someday on something about how to about hosting a podcast or something along those lines, right? But, I think that's really what it comes down to is, right, these new ideas, rapid advancement. Startups are able to, do you find startups, I shouldn't say startups are, do you find startups are able to catch up faster or get ahead faster now with this and be able to, again, grow their footprint, their job base, and grow the not only the AI market, but the job market as a result of all the tools available?
Oh, definitely. I seriously believe now you no longer need to rely that much in VC's money. Right, you can be profitable from the first month, the first week. Like again, I don't like to use myself as statistically one person, not a sample, right? But in the four past endeavors I had, right? I had 4 startups before. I always needed investors, so I had investors. I'm no longer with VC's money at the moment. Of course, I'm not saying no. Someone that might be interested in my company might be listening to us, and I hope so. Let's talk. Let's gonna have a coffee.
Right? Yeah.
Right. But why? But before, I remember last time I created a company that was HES, and there was I and A in the name, by the way, because that stands for AI in Portuguese, right? I started with 30 people in the first 2 months, 30 developers, data engineers, data science, front-end developers, and so on. Now, I can do pretty much the same, maybe one person, wow. Right? Using auto agents, right? Yep. Auto agents, I like to try to also be very technical, because usually people think, someone is a business entrepreneur not necessarily know how to do. I still code. I've been coding for the last 26 years. So I can tell you, auto agents, either auto gen from Microsoft or auto agents in general, created by people and open source, they can be trained to be whatever you want in the tech industry. So you no longer need a big team like that. So yes, it's, if you have a good idea and if you are really, you do believe on that and invest time, I think the most expensive asset is time for most of people, right? If you have time to invest on that, you're gonna create something really great that's gonna have an impact and so on, right? Of course, a lot of people now are creating things that it's still risky if you're dealing with a market that you don't know. So I see a lot of people creating things that They don't know actually it's easily created by someone else. Like this week, a lot of people are talking about the GPT-4 now, which allows you to upload a PDF, by default, and so on, a Excel spreadsheet, and etc., and have that calculated. Loads of startups rely on that before, right? So if you rely on GPT-4 or any other API, I'm sorry, but it's very unlikely that you have a business, right? You can use that as support, but you cannot tell, oh, how creative I am or my company is, is innovative because we are doing that. And what's the core intelligence behind it? It's GPT-4, OpenAI. So, and loads of startups, they had received money and so on. They probably now gonna, they're gonna give up on the idea. So yes, on the other hand, you have companies focusing in totally different ideas, like usually the ones that are not focused on AI are the ones with the right path to the success. Let's say I want to create a new type of bread. I should automate the process and make my bread as cheap as I can during the process of baking it, rather than just worrying if I should have the model A or B from Hugging Face on OpenAI. No, your core business is important. People still need to eat. And after 10 years, AI are going to be totally different, but you're still going to need to eat, you're still going to eat bread or meat or whatever. So once you focus on actually what people need, the basic needs, I'm 100% sure you are on the right path.
Love that. That's a great. I think that's a great summary for exactly what we talked about here. With that in mind, we just talked about if people, VCs or otherwise, are looking to get a hold of you, want to get to connect with you, learn more about your businesses, or just again pick your brain for some more amazing of the information that you've got. How do we get in contact with you? How can our listeners find you?
Great. I think hopefully people find me through this podcast. They can look for us in Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, right? So they can find there, see our names. And I'm on LinkedIn, so people can easily find me as Anderson Lewis. I'm going to be there. I have a good number of followers, around over 2,000, 12,000 actually. And most of them are data related people, so I see there, for example, I have some posts and always data scientists and data leaders seeing me. So I have a very qualified audience. And so, because of course, if I say something wrong, people are going to be the first to point the fingers as well. So I like to talk to really people from my industry. So they find me on LinkedIn easily as Anderson Amaral, and I own a software house named Scorus, and scorusbot.com. It's one of my companies like delivering bot as a service, right? So we are handling many types of services. It is this company, by the way, it's, let's say, somehow related to the idea of democratizing AI, because we are subscription service, so it's too expensive. I gave an example here as let's say create a new type of bread. If you own a bakery, you don't want to hire a AI team to automate your process. You can rely on the service by itself. So you're like, okay, no, I don't want to spend 100, 200,000 to have two guys coding for me. I just automate this. I pay per month according to my performance. If I'm selling more bread for lower price and I'm having higher revenue, I pay more. So Scorus bought one of my companies. That's the idea. Okay, how can you make that? Maybe instead of paying for an app delivering bread, he can just talk through WhatsApp, Telegram, and have the owner's voice there negotiating a price to sell to suppliers, etc. That's just an example. So they find me on LinkedIn talking about AI nearly every day.
Love it. That's amazing. So be sure to reach out to Anderson Amaral. If you're looking for AI advisory skills, large language model, chatbot information, data science, data mining, data analysis, I know you're a top rated plus freelancer on Upwork. I mean, I feel like there's nothing you can't do in this space, man. So for sure, for our listeners, get in touch with Anderson and take advantage of all the knowledge he has. And with that said, I really want to thank you, Anderson, for being here today for this amazing podcast on AI and the job market, startups, job displacements, and the future of work. Thank you so much for being here today. It's always a pleasure talking with you.
The same, and again, I love to talk about statistics and talk about the job market here, giving the sources, and it's just a way of explaining how many people and newspapers and everyone are talking about that at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think today we made a little bit clear in people's mind, that we are on the same page, entrepreneurs, people, listeners, and in the general people interested in the area, that we still need to see what's going to happen. So be sure to talk to us, to listen to podcasts as Ryan Davies here podcast, and that's it. Get as much information as you can, and then you have your own decision about the future, your opinion. That's the best thing you can do. It was a pleasure talking to Ryan Davies here, and knowing that good people are going to listen to us.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what we're here for, right? The Tech Business Roundtable, the whole point is us all sitting and sharing information, like you just said. Gather that information, learn more, and make informed decisions. Anderson, we're going to have you back. I know we before we started this podcast, recording it, we had a list of topics. So we're not done with you yet. Anderson Amaral, thank you again for being here. We will definitely have you back on the TBR Roundtable. And until we meet again for another amazing TBR episode, I am your host, Ryan Davies. Thanks, everybody. Stay curious. Be kind out there. Take care.